We're good? You all ready? You good? Ready? Good. All right, ready? All right, here we go.
What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Conversation Piece, your place to discover the hidden stories of Indianapolis. My name is Patrick Armstrong. I'm your host, and this is The Open Door, a monthly series where we literally open the studio door and sit down with members of the community here in Indianapolis to talk about whatever's on their hearts. If you want to learn more or you're interested in participating, go to conversationpiecepod.com and click on the open door in the top bar. And last but not least, shout out to Life in Indy and the team over there for sponsoring this series. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. My guest today is Matt Hadley. Matt, thanks for coming to the show.
Yeah, dude, you did way better than I do when I introduce when I bring on our podcast. I'm like, whoa, that was really good. So I got to step my game up, dude. So great job there, man. That's awesome.
I really appreciate that. Before I ask this first question, I am going to say that I actually like the way you go into your intros. I feel like sometimes mine's too structured. And I love just the casual, just entering into the conversation in media res, kind of like just getting into it. Well, I like that vibe of your show.
So I appreciate that you listen and you're following our podcast. We really appreciate that. But since you do, you probably hear that Drew's a professional internet stalker. We've kind of come with that niche. And I never ask him ahead of time what he found because I want to know, because there's been some stuff where I'm like, whoa, that's deep, you know? And some of our guests are like, how the hell did you find that out?
Well, that's one of the pieces that has inspired me when I was getting ready to do the Indianapolis-focused stuff. I knew that if I was going to have guests on, I needed to know about them. So I needed to do my legwork and research. I know you have your guy for that. Hot Ones, Sean Evans, the team that does that show, I know they do a lot of research. And it's like, those are the people that inspire me to hopefully do my job as a host.
Well, awesome. Yeah. So again, thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. I've been following along on your podcast for several months now, and it's been really cool to see some people that I know personally that have slid through your podcast, and it's really awesome.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate you making time to come on, and we're getting, this isn't a crossover, but this is like a meshing synergy.
That's right.
And making it happen.
Collaboration of two of the coolest podcasts in Indianapolis. How about that?
Collaboration between two of the coolest podcasts in Indianapolis. You already know what it is. Well, let's get into it.
Yeah.
For folks that are listening or watching right now that for whatever reason don't know who you are, do you mind sharing just a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, 100%. So I've been here my whole life, grew up in Greenwood down the south side, moved through a variety of different roles in my career. If someone would have told me 10 years ago I'd be hosting a podcast and having some of the coolest people on, I'd be like, you got it. You're not serious right now, right? Because a little bit about my background, right?
Yeah.
10 years ago, prior to 2019, I was chasing the wrong things in life, right? I was chasing bars. I was chasing liquor. I was chasing a lot of the wrong stuff. And I can get up and leave now if that's not going to be good for your guests. But anyway,
not at all.
It's my story, right?
Resonate, for sure.
And that's what I was chasing, and that's all I knew, right? Like if someone would ask me, hey, who do I need to know in the city? I wouldn't have been able to tell you. But if you'd asked where the coolest bar was, I could have probably told you where that was, right? And that's why I start that way, to say that, again, 10 years ago, if somebody would have said you'd be hosting a podcast and being able to invite some of the coolest people and the biggest names in the city on, I'd have laughed. And I would have. I'm like, well, who do you think I am, right?
Sure.
So how it kind of changed, how life transitioned for me, I was downtown at a Building Your Brand workshop in the Skyline Club.
Okay.
And I'll never forget, to this day, I still remember it. One of the guest speakers said, do you have 10 people in your network today that if you're about to lose everything would be able to help you and make the right connection? That's not exactly, let me rephrase how he exactly said it. Do you have 10 people in your network today that could help if you're about to lose everything, right? And I asked at the end, I said, well, what does help mean? Well, help is, getting you connected to the right people or resources, right? And that's what it is. And resources is people, right? Do you have access to the right people in the city that can get you in the rooms that you need to be in? Or even better yet, that people are talking about your name's coming up when you're not even in the room.
Exactly.
Right? And that's key. And now I live by a mantra, and it's on every post that I make on social media. Relationships are the most valuable asset we have. And I 100% believe that, right?
Yep.
Relationships are more valuable than money. Relationships are more valuable than anything you can have, whether it's personal or professional relationships. That's what matters, right? And again, I learned that 2019, fast forward to today, I'm still a believer in, when I put my feet on the ground, I believe in 3 missions: serve your community, help others with no expectations in return, and build relationships authentically, right? And if you do those 3 things, I'm living, breathing proof that 10 years ago, I was chasing bars and liquor. Today I'm chasing building authentic relationships and helping people in the community, right? And when you do those things, that's success.
Yeah.
I got to give the one plug for Circle City Success Podcast. And that's what I truly believe, right? I've learned a lot about what is success, and no one ever says money. I've had 213 guests on. No one ever says money, and I truly believe that in either. It's usually about a connection or serving, right? And I believe that too, and I try to live it out every single day. So again, that's a very high-level, quick synopsis of what it is, but I truly encourage people, if you don't have a network of solid people, what you can call a personal and professional board of advisors, go out and find those. Is 10 the right number? I don't know.
Sure.
5 to 10 people, though, that you can truly rely on, that if you're about to lose everything in life, they can truly help get you connected to the right people and the right resources.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate you being vulnerable right off the top. I hope we're creating a space for folks to feel like they can be vulnerable, and I appreciate you leaning into that. I can really resonate with 10 years ago chasing the wrong things. I lived in that space for a long time, even after I met my now wife, but she was one of those lights that kind of helped me find my way. Finding my identity just super randomly was the other part of that, like helping me get to a space where I could see myself after 30 years of looking in other directions. I love this idea of if you had one moment left, do you have anybody that you can call on?
Yeah.
In this particular instance, it was 10 people. When you were asking yourself that question, did you have 10 folks that you felt okay?
I had what I thought was friends, but those people that I thought were friends were the ones that were feeding me alcohol until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I got to get up at 7 a.m. the next day to go to work, right? Those aren't true friends. If people are feeding you a disease, let's call that's what it is, right? Or feeding you a substance, those aren't your friends, right? So what did I do, right? So I used, at that time, I was very new and immature, I guess, to LinkedIn, right?
Okay.
I was very, very new to LinkedIn. And I was a sales guy then, still a sales guy to this day, but I believe in it being business development rather than sales now.
Sure.
But I was using LinkedIn at that point to just reach out to people, right? Because I'll never forget, a mentor told me, he said, Matt, what happens in sales when you reach out to people? There's only 3 things. They either tell you, yes, I'll meet, no, go fly a kite, or they'll just ghost you, period, right? You'll never hear anything. Well, when you're reaching out to ask someone to grab coffee, it's the same process.
Yeah.
They're either going to tell you yes, no, or ghost you.
Yep.
And I send the same message that I sent in 2019, I still use to this day.
Okay.
And it would be something like this. Hey, Patrick, heard about your story. It sounds awesome. Are you up for grabbing coffee to share stories and find ways to help each other? Simple. There's no expectation of that message. There's no agenda. And literally when I sit down to meet face-to-face, there's no agenda.
Sure.
My goal during that meeting is to find some way or multiple ways to help someone, even if it's making a connection to Patrick and John.
Yeah.
And you guys go out and change the world. You guys went out and changed the world just off a simple introduction.
Yeah.
That cost me $0. It cost me very little amount of my time because I truly believe everyone has 30 minutes in their day to meet with somebody new for coffee. Now, it may not be right now today. We all have stuff we're working on.
Sure.
But sometime in the next 2 months, it's hard for me to fathom that somebody can say, no, I don't have any time at all.
Right.
And I call BS on that. I really do.
Sure.
Because I'm a busy guy. You're a busy guy. Everyone's busy. But you can find 30 minutes to go out and help somebody. Because I truly believe it's about helping others. That's what life's about. That's what life is all about.
Well, I think that's what builds a solid relationship is when there's no expectation and when you're in that space of no expectation and you can support each other.
Yeah.
And it's not a quid pro quo or transactional support. Nope. It's like, oh, you need help? Here I am.
Yeah.
And then whenever something might happen on the other end, hopefully it goes the other way.
Right. And I go back to 10 years ago, I would have been able to tell you where the best bar is. Now I can tell you who the people are you need to know in the city. And that's a very humble brag, but makes me feel really good to know that if you need to know whoever, we're all probably at most, I believe, 2 connections away from you knowing the next person that you need. The giant life-changing connection that you need, at most, we're 2 connections away. I probably know somebody that knows that person that you need to know.
Especially here in Indy.
Yeah. Dude, everybody that comes on the podcast is always saying the same thing. It's like, this city it's a big city with a little city.
Yeah.
If you run in the same circle with someone, they're going to know the person you need to know. I'll never forget someone came on, shout out to Jake Oakman actually, who said this, that said, no matter what level of status in the city of Indianapolis someone's on, if you approach the conversation the right way, something similar, are you up for grabbing coffee, something to that effect. If you approach it the right way without a sales pitch, no matter what level status that person's on, they're probably going to tell you yes in this city.
That's true. I feel like especially folks who are transplants here
Yep.
have said something to that effect
Yep.
of when I got here, everybody was willing to support me or
Yep.
help me in some way, whether
Yep.
it big or small. Like, I think there's just, it's not even just a Midwest nice thing.
Right.
I feel like there's something about Indy
Specific.
that makes it, like, makes the people want to help.
Yeah.
And like be that kind of supportive cushion for folks.
And I completely agree with that because I've gone to some other large cities and it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's not like that. Whatever it is about Indiana people, like you said, either born here, raised here, or coming here, it's more so the people that come here that don't understand that it really does happen. It really happens. And I think you're a living example of that. You said is like you ask people and for help. Now look at you. You're hosting a podcast.
Very true.
You're doing all this stuff. Because probably somewhere along in your journey, someone took the time to help you and say, this is it, right?
I appreciate that because 100% 4 years ago, someone did that exact thing, and now I am here. I also worked at Angie's List, so I am probably 2 connections away from everybody in the city.
True.
Worked there twice, actually. Okay, I want to ask you about investing in relationships.
Yeah.
What does that mean for you? You've done it over 200 times just on the podcast, and I'm sure in many other myriad ways in relation to the podcast, but it's like, that's what sits at the heart of the work that you do as an individual, as Matt Hadley.
Right.
What does that mean to you? What does it mean to invest in a relationship?
So to me, it means creating a friendship, right? Even if it's going to be a business relationship, you should still be able to count on that person to be able to say, hey, dude, let's go out and grab a drink, or let's go out and get coffee, or let's go play golf. Sometimes in business, not sometimes, a lot of times in business, we think of it as transaction, right? And I've tried to remove transaction. I did remove transaction from my language. There is no transaction. It's a relationship. You as my client should be able to call me and say, Matt, you guys are messing up. Like, what's going on? That's a true relationship, whereas it's transactional. Who knows how the conversation is going to go?
Sure.
And I tell every single person that is, hey, if we're going to do business together, you should be able to be candid with me and say, hey, dude, like, what the hell's going on?
Sure.
And that's what a relationship is. But investing totally in professional and personal relationships is, again, it's just building friendships, man. It's knowing that you can pick up the phone and call that person at nearly any hour of the day, right? And be able to say, hey, Patrick, dude, like, I need your help on something, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is. And to build that relationship, you got to have the down and gritty, dirty conversations, right? And know a history about that person, man.
Yeah.
If you're building a transaction, all you care about is what's the dollar going to be at the end of the day, right? If you're building a relationship, you know about that person's children, their dog, their cat, where they live, you know, and again, that you guys have a mutual understanding that you can pick up the phone and call, hey, Matt, Patrick, if you ever need anything, dude, pick up the phone and call.
Yeah.
To me, that's the difference between a transaction and a relationship, right?
Okay.
And when you truly invest and you're building those solid relationships, your 10 people that I was mentioning earlier can change over time, right?
Sure.
People age out, people go different directions. You're still friends, it's still a relationship, but your top 10 or your top 5 or whatever it is can evolve over time, right?
Yeah.
Because people have different needs, different wants, different whatever. And it just, for example, my 10 over the last 5 years has probably changed.
Sure.
Actually, I know it has.
Yeah.
But I know without a doubt, I have people on my phone that I can pick up and say, hey, Patrick, dude, I need your help with this. And if you've done life the right way and you treat people fairly and kindly, they're willing to help you with nearly anything if they're able to.
I love it. I want to go one level deeper because I think we both have a lot of experience in investing in a relationship, because you have to do that when you're a host of a show or something, when you're interacting with a guest, when you're sitting in a conversation, like that's an investment in that time. I think we live in an era right now of expediency where we're always rushed, where for a lot of people, like, we have to juggle a lot of things in order to just do the one thing and take care of our family. And then as adults, making friends, it can be difficult. I love the idea of, like, you have to treat it as a relationship, as a friendship. Like, that's how you were investing in. Can you talk about, like, one piece of advice for folks who feel kind of trapped in this rush, this expediency, and like, I don't have time? How do they make that time, or how can they do that to start investing in those relationships? Well,
and there's a lot of talk about getting out of your comfort zone and all these things. I think people feel this pressure. There's a reason. There's something higher than them that's making them feel rushed, right?
Sure.
Whether it be an employer, it be a watch, a family at home, whatever that is, you just have to take the time, right? You just really have to take the time and understand it's a long-term play. Relationships is a lifelong play, right? A transaction is tomorrow. Relationships is a lifelong play, dude. I plan on still having the same friends that I have today. I plan on still having, they'll be the ones that show up at my funeral, right?
Sure.
Those are going to be, that's when you know you've invested in lifelong friendships. And then when again, my life story has been a lot different. I've done a whole, that'd be a 180, right? Of like what I was chasing before to what my focus is now. And I hope, right, that when people say, hey, what's Matt Hadley's brand or tell me about Matt Hadley, they say, man, that dude's awesome. He thinks about others before he ever thinks about himself. And he really has a passion to serve, right? Yeah. And that's, to me, that's the lesson and that's the value that I want and the legacy I want to leave is that I really truly built relationships and truly cared about other people more so than myself, right? Because when you do that and you put others first, dude, life comes back. Everything comes back to you.
Yeah.
However that happens, it's mind-blowing, dude, to think about the fact that if you just do good by people, dude, things just come back to you. You could have the worst week ever, right? If you're in a sales job or you're in whatever role you're in, you could have the worst Monday through Thursday ever. Friday, you get 3 to 4 email introductions that say, hey, Patrick, you need to meet Matt. Matt, meet Patrick. You guys go out and change the world together. You're like, I didn't even ask for this introduction.
Right.
But you know it was something good because you trust Patrick and you trust Matt. So I'm like, you got to take that meeting.
Yeah.
And then you find out, oh, man, that was an intentional introduction because Patrick's in commercial development and I need to know people in commercial development, right?
Yeah.
Those are the best days ever. And so you got to just understand that it's a long-term play. Your 15 to 30 minutes today is going to pay off a gazillion fold long-term, right? Because again, remember what I said, you've got 30 minutes.
That's what I was,
You've got
just
30
about to
minutes,
say.
dude.
Yep.
30 minutes?
In
I'm
2
not asking
months,
for 2
in 60
hours.
days, you have the 30 minutes.
But guess what? Here's the other thing, right? People have told me many, many times. When I started this journey in 2019, people told me, man, I got 30 minutes for you. Cool. And guess what? 2 hours later, we're still sitting at the table.
Yep.
And sometimes I want to get up and say, hey, Patrick, you told me. I don't do that. But I knew, because if you do it right, and you should never sit down and have a conversation, you should never talk about what you do in life.
Sure.
What you do personally, yes. You're learning about that person as a human being. You can look up there's too many sources like LinkedIn and Facebook, all these social media. You can find out what Patrick does.
Sure.
Do you know that person?
Exactly. You can see, we always see what's on social media.
Yeah.
We never see everything that goes in to the life that is living that social media page.
The best meetings I've ever had is when the meeting's over and they're like, wait, Matt, but I didn't even learn anything about you. Good, Patrick, that means we need to meet again. Right?
Sales guy.
Again, you focus on the other person first.
Yep.
You let them tell their entire story. Because that's what I do. I sit down and say, Patrick, what are you working on? Tell me your story.
Yeah.
I know where you work. I don't need to know any of that. Tell me who's Patrick, right? Okay, cool to meet you. I got to go on. But Matt, we didn't even talk about you. Great. Let's meet again. Let's set a time right now to meet again. And again, progressively, if you can do business together, awesome. Now it's really easy to do business together.
100%.
But maybe you never do business together. Who cares?
Yeah.
Because you're building a lifelong friendship. Because somewhere in life, whether it be next week, next month, the next 10 years, you're going to run into somebody that I need to know. And you're going to say, hey, you need to know Matt Hadley.
I just said sales guy when you said that, but what I really mean is relationship builder.
Yeah.
Relationship builder. If you can believe it, and I know you literally just said, we come for 30 minutes, we stay for 2 hours. That's what I want to do with you in the future when we have more time. Yeah. We're definitely going to do that. Would love to have you back. Would love to find ways for our podcast to collaborate and cross over, to have more of these conversations. So I love what y'all are doing. Maybe we could do like a research off. That would be fun.
That's right.
I do have 2 more questions before I let you go, though. The first one is, you're a product of the city. You have done a lot of work here. And now you know like a lot of really cool people here. And you are telling the cool stories of those people and what they're doing in the city. For Matt Hadley, what does Indianapolis mean for you?
It's home. That's what it means to me. It's a community. It's community, right? It's people that you can count on no matter if you're on Capitol Avenue or if you're on Keystone and Rural. Right? Or that's the same street, whatever it is. It doesn't matter where you're at, right? It's a community. Indianapolis to me is home. It means community. It means people that I can count on. That's what Indianapolis means to me.
I love it. It's the relationships. Yep. It's the people. It's the relationships. And I am here for it. Last but not least, we're going to have you back. I want to have you back. We're going to figure out ways to have more of these conversations together. Until then, for folks out there that are watching, listening, who are getting ready to hop off of whatever player they're on right now, how do we find you? How do we follow you? How do we support you going forward?
Yep. I'm a big advocate of LinkedIn. That's where you'll find me the most. That's where the most success I've had is on LinkedIn, but I'm also on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm new to TikTok, so I'm trying that thing out.
Okay.
So if you use TikTok as my followers, you can be like, oh, this guy doesn't know anything, but I'm new to that. So come support me on TikTok. Actually,
Get
that's
on
what
TikTok.
I'm saying. It's Matt Hadley Indy on Instagram. It's Matt Hadley Indy on TikTok, Matt Hadley on LinkedIn, and Matthew Hadley on Facebook.
Okay, you got it right there. And we're going to have all of that in the show notes as well. Get out there and support Matt Hadley and Circle City Success Podcast too. I know we plugged it at the beginning. We're going to bring it back and plug it here at the end.
Thank you.
Make sure you get out, check them out, because there's a lot of cool people doing cool stuff in the city. And you've had a lot of crossover guests with our show as well. So I really appreciate you coming on. And
if I can leave everybody with one thing,
get it.
If you don't have 10 people in your network that have the access to tools and resources to help if you're about to lose everything, I strongly encourage you to do that.
Find your 10 people. If you don't have your 10 people, connect with Matt Hadley, connect with me, and let's start building community together.
Thanks, guys.
All right, y'all. Make sure you check out Matt's work, and then in the show notes and everywhere else that we talked about, go to conversationpiecePod.com for everything Conversation Piece. Shout out to Life in Indy for sponsoring this series. And until next time, I've been Patrick Armstrong, and this has been Conversation Piece, The Open Door. See y'all soon.